Welcome to Echo This, where we are empowering conversations of hope and opportunity. I'm your moderator, Lisa Jones. We are flipping the script and diving into the powerful dynamics of raising the bar, empowerment through role reversal. So today, we're exploring the unique and inspiring way kids are stepping up as leaders and motivators, guiding their parents toward growth and new heights. It's not just about raising kids anymore. It's about kids raising the bar for their families. So join us as we uncover stories of young trailblazers who are challenging traditional roles, sparking change, and empowering their parents in ways we never imagined. So get ready for a fresh perspective on family dynamics that's sure to inspire and empower. First, I would like to introduce who we have today. We have Debi and Amy Weishaus. I'm going to start with Amy. Amy, please introduce yourself.
Hello, everyone. I'm Amy Weishaus. I am a lifelong educator and also learner. I come to this platform with a great passion for the subject of empathy. It's my firm belief that every single one of us has the ability to spread empathy and joy every moment of the day if we're mindful of the amazing difference we can make in our lives and in the world.
Yes, thank you, Amy. I love that. And how about you, Debi?
Hi, I'm Debi Wimberley. As a health quality advocate, my role is to ensure that I know how to take care of my health the absolute best. And I want to share everything that I'm learning so that you can have the same success with your health and understanding how to guide it and build partnerships with your doctors.
Yes, so important. Partnerships with your doctors. I couldn't agree more. And I am Lisa Jones, a speaker, consultant, and author that leverages the power of humor, gamification, and play as fuel to enhance collaboration, increase engagement, and maximize productivity. And each of our episodes, we feature several segments. And our first segment is Echoing the Hope. So what we want to do here is we're going to be discussing our hope question. And today's question for Debi and Amy is, how can kids, by taking the lead and showing resilience and optimism, inspire their parents to raise the bar and echo hope in challenging times, turning adversity into an opportunity for growth as an entire family? So, Amy, I will begin with you to answer this question.
This question, Lisa, triggered the idea in my mind about resilience, overcoming adversity in very challenging times. And it brought me to some of my experiences with people and places that are actively involved in the recovery of children who are facing chronic, life-threatening, and sometimes terminal diseases. And from my own experience, I had the pleasure of meeting a woman who is a clown, and she calls herself Lotsy Dotsy, and of course her costume is full of dots. And she was a respiratory specialist who decided after a number of years to go to clown school and become a clown. She wrote a proposal to the local hospital to become a created role that she devised, the CFO of the hospital, mainly the chief fun officer. And this happened all at Joe DiMaggio Children's Hospital, a very famous place here in Florida where I live. And what's so remarkable is that this is a full-time job. It talks about parent and child-centered care. And it's an amazing, safe environment with all the support from staff and parents to help these children. But what happens is the children are helping them because the resilience and the innocence and the beauty and the appreciation of the children is beyond what anybody could imagine. There are so many stories that Lotsy Dotsy has accumulated. One is of a little boy who was very concerned that his mom got help because he said to Lotsy, Lotsy, please hug my mom because she needs your hugs because she cries so much for me because I'm sick. So the empathy and the role reversal of the children being so pure and so empathetic in caring for their parents is really, truly incredible. There's even, I want to call people's attention to these wonderful residences like the Ronald McDonald Home. I toured one of them not too long ago, and there were so many opportunities in this safe place for conversations and role reversal to happen again. It's a place where families are strengthened and where children raise the bar in teaching their parents about hope, about joy, about the precious moments that they share together. There are so many stories, and I'm hoping that Lotzi Dotzi will write the book that she hopes to write. I called the hospital this morning, as a matter of fact, to find out that she's still working there. She's probably about 75 years old. And this is a woman who had a fear of clowns and became one herself, opening doors for children to parent their parents in times when it's very difficult and it's a struggling moment, to just sometimes do the daily, everyday things that we take for granted.
Yes.
So I'm very inspired by that example.
So am I. Thank you so much for sharing, Amy. I want to be Lotsy Dotsy when I grow up, and you've given me another career to think about. So thank you. That was great. Clown school. And how about you, Debbie?
Well, I love this topic as it's such a fresh and needed perspective. And kids do lead, not with ego, but with heart, honesty, and grit. And you know what? Kids don't wait for the perfect conditions to be hopeful. They bounce back, get curious, and adapt faster than most adults. And I'm going to share a story about someone that I've worked with. And he was born with a deformity in his knee joints. And so, when we have kids and they start learning to crawl and walk, we just continue to encourage them. So every time he would stand up and try to walk, he would fall. And his parents would just say, get up and try again, get up and try again. So he was doing this all the way up through into grade school. And no one really seemed to know what was going on. And then come to find out, his knee joints were popping out of place, but they would pop back into place before anybody could notice it. So he always felt like he needed to step up, be honest and open about, I can do this. And so he gave his parents the will to push through when they found out what he was born with, and to show that, this little boy's been picking himself up every single day and moving forward with hope. And when we live with chronic health conditions, there's nothing more important than working with kids in cancer. We would see those little kids inspire their parents and give them hope and joy by encouraging them to be, it'll be okay, Mama, I promise. So we need to understand that kids come into this world naturally curious, joyful, and creative. That's untamed wisdom.
Yes, I love what you're saying there, Debbie, too. And the other thing, too, is I was thinking as you were talking, is anytime your kid's sick, you can kind of tell that they're sick, but they don't really show it. They're still playing, whereas adults were like, we're sick, it's time to lay down. But kids, they still kind of play through that. So it was an interesting example that you brought up. Thank you for sharing that. And then my reflection on this question is, I was really, and I know you both will be shocked by this, but I thought of it like a game where the family is a team and then every challenge is just another level to conquer. So who says that the parents always must be the ones with the strategy guide? I think sometimes it's the kids, right, who hold the key to leveling up, because kids show us resilience, kind of what I was talking about with, they play through their sickness. They bounce back after a tough day at school, or they find the silver lining in a sticky situation because they're really like the little superheroes and their optimism is their superpower. So by taking the lead and showing that they can face challenges with a smile and a let's figure this out together attitude, I really think that kids can inspire parents to do the same. And it's like they're saying, hey, if I can do this, we can all do this. So imagine turning the tough moments into a game instead of feeling overwhelmed. What if the whole family approached it like a quest? Really, the goal here, I think, is echoing hope and staying positive. And our reward is a stronger, more resilient family unit because kids can set the example by being the hope champions and parents can follow suit. Therefore, what do? We raise the bar together because it's all about shifting the mindset from this is too hard to how can we tackle this as a team. And when everyone's playing the same game with hope as the main power up, the whole family wins. So I say let's embrace the role reversal, let the kids lead the charge, and watch as that hopeful energy echoes through the whole family, lifting everyone to new levels of growth and strength. Well, thank you both for answering the question. I think we got off to a great start with the hope. And as we move into our second segment, which is echoing the opportunity, our question here that I want to pose is how can kids and parents work together to recognize and seize opportunities for growth and learning, even in unexpected situations? And the second part of that is how can kids lead the way in turning these opportunities into family successes? So I want to start here with Amy.
I'd like to take a somewhat broad look at this topic and begin with the premise that first we have to create opportunities and safe spaces for interaction and for the generations to engage with one another. So I'd like to suggest, for example, at the school level, parents and their children can interact when the kids are involved in discussions and maybe form a parent-teacher-student organization, which can have amazing effects of raising the bar and communicating. Also, things like intergenerational choirs where children and adults, parents and grandparents are working together. And I want to take one particular example of something very popular in America today and use it as a general analogy for many, many different situations. And that is the youth and parent interaction in sports events. From the local Little League to the major traveling youth sports phenomenon that's happening for millions and millions of children. And I find that this brings parents and children together in amazing ways. There are some negatives that are written about the high pressured competitive nature of potential dissension or problems with some of these organizations, but parents are learning from the kids and reflecting on one another. I wanted to say in particular, there are situations where the children are trying to compare themselves to other children. And this is a great opportunity for the parent to step in and talk about the value of their own self-identity and their own personality, and to avoid benchmarking with other kids as a barometer of their own performance or worth or ability. And also, parents can learn from the kids and judge by their mood and come up in almost any situation with a non-judgmental response, such as, I love to watch you play, and withhold any criticism or withhold anything that might be negative in the mix. That's why a lot of sports teams don't show video analysis of the game right away. They wait till emotions calm down and kids and parents are more receptive to some kind of feedback. I also found that there are opportunities here for parents to become advocates. This is a wonderful time where they can role reverse, but they can push their kids to realize that there are ways to behave, even from the kids' perspective. The parents can modify that and come to maybe asking 3 key questions. And these are for all parents to learn from. To say to the participant, what did you do well? What did you learn? And what can you do to improve the next time? And those kinds of interactions are priceless. So from the sports arena, parents and their participants mirror each other, but I see a tremendous opportunity for the parents to raise the bar in having the time and the precious opportunity to grow together as a family.
Yes, Amy, that is so great. I love what you were saying about the benchmarking because I think with the benchmarking, that's in a sense imposter syndrome, right? Like even kids suffer from imposter syndrome. So the fact that you reframed it as benchmarking, I think helps them reflect differently upon it and realize, hey, I don't need to compare myself to others. And those three questions that you also posed were good for families as well. So thank you, Amy. And how about you, Amy? I mean, Debbie.
Well, I can wear Amy for a few minutes. That's okay. No, well, I'm going to take us back to a time and flipped all of our lives upside down. COVID. For once, we were all beginners, including the experts. No one had the blueprint. Every household had to figure out how to survive with connection and sanity, looking them and working it on their own terms. And it was really interesting when I was thinking about it, and I wrote an actual article about this because I had my kids coming to me and saying, I have to figure out how to have an office at home. My husband has to figure out how to have an office at home. We have two kids that have to go to school. They have to have access. And it's like, well, this is where we really need to start this conversation. And this is where we really need to extend it from now forward, I think, is that we need to include everyone in the conversation. It's not just the adults trying to make the solutions, because everything that happened in COVID impacted all of us in every shape, form, and fashion. And so by asking the kids to sit at the table and have these conversations, they brought really cool solutions to the table. And if you can remember, there were times where kids were drawing rainbows and putting them in the windows so that people could see them to spread joy. And then they were sending voice notes to their grandparents because now they couldn't go see them. And they were doing Zoom calls with school and then creating games. So, when we look at our kids, we should always be seeing that they have the ability to bring answers to the table that I think we have forgotten or stepped away from because we've let go of the curiosity that lives within inside us. And so it's really important that we take a moment in time that would taught us something so important and rely on it still. And we should be asking, what did we learn through that process, and are we still utilizing it today? Are we still allowing our kids to have a voice at the table? It doesn't matter what age they are. It impacts them, everything that we do. And I think that we need to start bringing kids into the conversations about what home life is, what outside of home life is, because they have really good insight, because they're curious.
Yes, so important. Curiosity, leading with curiosity. And one of the things you said too is bring them into the conversation. I don't think there's too early of a time to start bringing them into the conversation. So thank you for putting that on our radar. And I think as we look at these opportunities, not just as hidden treasures in the game of life, because sometimes they're right in front of us, it takes what Debbie is saying, a little curiosity and teamwork to uncover them. But here's the fun part. Kids are often the ones with the fresh perspective, right? The ones who see opportunities where adults might see challenges or roadblocks, because we're so accustomed to saying, oh, that's a challenge, where kids are like, no, I can overcome that. So imagine the family as a team of explorers, and each day is a new adventure. So kids with their endless creativity and open minds can lead the charge in spotting these hidden gems. Maybe it's turning a rainy day into a chance to learn something new at home, or transforming a setback into a challenge that the whole family can conquer together. And I really think that when kids take the initiative to say, hey, wait, what if we tried this? They're not just echoing the opportunity, they're amplifying it. They're showing their parents that growth and learning aren't limited to school or work. They happen everywhere in every moment, and sometimes in the most unexpected places. And parents can then step up by supporting these ideas working together to turn them into wins for the whole family. Because it's about creating a culture where everyone is looking out for opportunities to grow, learn, and succeed together. So let's hand over the map to the kids now and then, like Debbie was saying, and see what amazing opportunities they can lead us. Who knows, the next big family success might be just around the corner. So thank you both for that. Any additional thoughts about that segment before we move on to our Echoing the Laughter segment?
I think that one of the things that we should think about is we should go back and ask our kids now, after we've got out of COVID, what are some of the lessons we all learned? Because I think their insight from that will be very different than where we are.
Yeah, so true. That very different. It's amazing.
Yeah.
It's amazing just how different it could be.
Yeah.
It's kind of like what Amy was saying like earlier is we kind of do like a benchmarking of where we were, where we could be. So I think like I really like that word for it's a good theme to thread throughout benchmarking. Amy, anything from you?
I like your image, Lisa, of giving the kids the map and allowing them to lead. And Debbie, the curiosity factor, because I think when we engage the kids in the conversation, we see increasingly that we can create a level field where we raise the bar for each other. And there's a beautiful collaboration that takes place. And often our kids parent us. We can find glimmers of that and encourage them about that. We have a family member in the hospital, and he was insistent that his daddy get some sleep, dad, get some sleep. And, I heard him mirroring the role of his dad in his concern for his teenager. So it's very refreshing. And this is the beauty and joy of life.
Yes, I love it. Thank you, Amy. Well, let's move into our third segment, Echoing the Laughter. And our question for this segment is, how can kids turn everyday moments into laugh out loud experiences? And how does sharing these moments with their parents help echo the laughter and joy throughout the whole family? So, great question to start off our segment with. And Amy, what are your thoughts?
I think laughter is, we really have to work at it sometimes. It's a priority that is often overlooked. I read a post from some parent about the fact that they have a laugh day every month, a fun day every month, where each family member can suggest an activity that they do that doesn't cost money, and they don't have to travel far for it. And it's something that they think will be a lot of fun to do together. And I thought, wow, we could do that every single day, even if we carve out a little bit of time, because time is that precious commodity that means the world to our kids. So I think when we collaborate and create that safe environment where we're equal in laughter, it's a leveling field where there's no judgment. There's just finding out so many different things about each other, like, wow, I didn't know that, and gaining new respect for someone's knowledge and information. I want to advocate play games, play board games, play charades, Pictionary, games that engage and reveal things about each other that are just going to naturally create laughter for years to come. I came across the idea, listen to this, make up trivia questions about each other. What are the potentials of that kind of activity? How about going to the zoo together? What about creating a fort in the house of blankets and such, or in the backyard, and telling stories at a campfire, and maybe even telling stories about the parents' childhood and seeing where they can find commonalities, writing and producing a play to perform for the family. We're all enjoying here an opportunity to learn and to grow and to laugh together. I find that the innocence and the spontaneity of the children, I think their kookiness, their lack of inhibition at times, I think that raises the bar for us in being that way, being our natural inner child as much as we can. So use imagination, tell jokes, Go somewhere and volunteer together and see how other people are living. Be empathetic towards them. And I'm sure there'll be things that can dispel stereotypes and that create a lot of learning and laughter in the mix. Play loud music and dance. Just decide that life is fun and that every moment is a potential moment for fun and joy with families together.
Yes, together. And you said the magic words that I love to hear time and time again is that play games. Play games together. I couldn't agree more with that, Amy. Thank you. And how about you, Debbie?
Well, this is not going to be any surprise to anyone here, but kids and their curiosity is the greatest gift to providing laughter. And I'm going to call this the frog philosophy moment. And it's because a friend of mine, and I was like in my early 20s, and she was much older, but we were in college together. And her little boy asked, "Why don't frogs hop backwards?" This spurred a 30-minute debate, ending in laughter and frog impressions, to be honest. But it was like the word why is the bridge. And we didn't have the internet, we didn't have access to all the tools we have today to even look that up. And so it took, pulling out an encyclopedia, going to the library. I mean, we really researched this to understand the philosophy of why the frog doesn't chop backwards. And so it's like that question still lives with me today at 67. And it brings me so much joy just knowing that. So we need to stop and think about our kids and their curiosity. It's the greatest gift to laughter. They have no filter, no ego, and zero fear of looking silly, which means they're constantly uncovering the kind of joy that we as adults forget. And so never forget this one moment that my child's friend asks completely seriously, "Why don't frogs hop backwards?" And just realize how many questions do your kids ask you? Why? And they ask them seriously. And do we really look at them and pay attention to them? Don't brush them off. Really look at them and explore that and allow yourself to see the silliness in a lot of their whys. Because if they're around too, I'm telling you, there's a lot of whys. And I can remember my son asking why all the time. And I used to think, could you just not ask that one more time? And I'm so thankful now that we have the ability to think about and understand why that is so important, because communication is so important. We live in a very much different time than when I was raised up. Kids were not asking questions. They weren't allowed to ask questions a lot of the time. So I think that it's really important to understand the power of why. So next time your kid asks a random question like, "Why do squirrels look guilty?" Pause. Don't rush past it. That question might be your golden ticket to laughter today.
Oh, so true. Thank you, Debbie. That is so, so true. I think that is one of the best questions I've heard. Why do frogs not leap backwards? And it's interesting that you mentioned that, because the other day I was doing an exercise, and this isn't really related to laughter, although it probably would have been funny to watch me do it. And one of the exercises they said, it was like a high intensity interval training workout. And they said, let's hop forward, but we're going to hop back too. So it was part of the exercise, but it was interesting because I never thought of it that way. So now it's a whole new appreciation for that exercise. I'm not supposed to be going backwards, but yet I am. So that's really where the magic happens, right? Because kids have a natural talent for turning the most mundane moments into laugh out loud experiences. So whether it's making up silly songs during chores, they're cracking jokes at the dinner table, or just being their wonderfully goofy selves, kids are like little joy generators, and their laughter is totally contagious. And I also think that when kids share these moments with their parents, it's like really setting off a chain reaction of happiness. And if a kid starts a playful game of who can make the silliest face, and suddenly everyone's in stitches, including the parents who just a moment ago were stressing over something seriously. This happened to me the other day. And I think that that's really the power of laughter, because it cuts through the tension. And it reminds us that life doesn't always have to be so serious, if we just remember that. But by echoing laughter, Kids not only lighten the mood, they also create stronger family bonds. They teach us that joy can be found in the simplest of forms. And when we all join in, it amplifies the fun. Plus, shared laughter is like a secret handshake. It creates inside jokes and happy memories that keep the family connected. So I say, I agree with both of you, Debbie and Amy. Let's encourage kids to keep those giggles coming and embrace every opportunity to turn everyday moments into laughter-filled adventures. After all, a family that laughs together stays together and has a lot more fun along the way. So any other additional comments about this segment before we move on to our Echoing the Enigma segment?
Well, I'd like to add in here and just ask our viewers, what is one of the weirdest, funniest, and most random question your child has ever asked you? Share it with us, and maybe we'll feature that on our next episode of Echo This.
Yes, I would love to hear that on social media. Anything from you, Amy?
Yeah, I just would like to add one of the activities for fun could be something like a scavenger hunt. And this is an idea that never grows old. And when the kids and the parents can orchestrate and make up the items to look for, this can even be done at a mall or on a car trip, a scavenger hunt in the car, where things are being brought to people's attention, observation. Everything is a discussion potential of whatever they're looking at and observing. And I just think it would be fun to learn about the creativity, raising the bar for each other's creativity and encouraging laughter through that kind of creativity.
Yes, so good. Can't go wrong with a good scavenger hunt. So thank you for that suggestion. All right, our Echoing the Enigma question. Are you guys ready?
Ready.
Okay. How can kids and parents work together to solve the enigma of finding joy in difficult times? And what role does curiosity play in unlocking that joy when it feels elusive? So I know that Debbie is super excited about this question, but I'm going to start with Amy.
He fooled me. Okay, so I want to reflect a minute on the phrase here in the question, challenging times, because it forced me to think. I know there are challenging times right now in our society, in our world, everywhere we look, in our families, but it could be a challenging time, maybe just for one member of the family in that given moment. Maybe a child is having difficulty at school that they're not sharing. Maybe someone's being bullied. Whatever it is, we need opportunities to steel and armor our loved ones in order to be able to face whatever challenges occur with resilience. So the enigma is always, how do we find joy in ongoing difficult times? And I'm finding that often we can find it through our heritage or through discovering what we don't know about our heritage. There are online organizations like 123Me and Ancestry.com. And I've actually participated in one of them. And I was amazed at the accuracy of pinpointing first cousins of mine. It was really, truly an amazing experience. It led me to think about the resilience and strength we can find in family names. Debbie has an example of that she shares about being a Macmillan and what that means to her, breaking any enigmas and always looking at the positive side of resilience and strength and family heritage. I also think if we look at TV series, even going back to Roots, which was a land-breaking TV series, very popular about African Americans coming to America. There were shows about legacies, famous people tracing their roots, even all the way back to the Salem witch trials and to people that were dignitaries. So I find we can raise the bar by learning and discussing together, and kids, in helping to make these discoveries, can also reinforce to parents when they get down the resilience and strength and hope that have persevered our families and our people for years. Many of our families came from other countries, and it was through very hard work and diligence and belief that they raised the bar for each other. And I think this is a way that we can all come together. And I love the quote, there's a wonderful way to prepare our children for life, and that is to give them roots and to give them wings.
Oh, what a great quote. Roots and wings. Thank you, Amy. That is good. Roots and wings. And how about you, Debbie? What are your thoughts?
Well, I think it's time we flip, seen but not heard. And I don't know if you've ever heard this saying before, and I hadn't really heard it until my husband shared it with me about how his parents saw him. But it's like, children should be seen, not heard. Well, this is actually an adage with roots from like the 15th century, where it was initially used to describe young women and how they should behave, particularly maidens. And that might have flown in another generation, but it doesn't fly now. It became particularly impactful for my husband because he was always just thought he had to be seen, not heard, so it prevented him from having a voice. And so I think I want it to be really clear that our children have a voice. And it's their curiosity is what unlocks joy when everything feels so heavy. And ask your kids to lead with curiosity. Allow them to lead with curiosity. And that's when the wildest questions can happen. And they, just listen to your kids when they're playing. And you'll see them role playing. And I think Lisa's daughter, she's younger and she's always doing role playing. And Lisa's taught us a lot about how her daughter uses it. And Lisa listens and pays attention to what her daughter's talking about and asks a lot of questions. And it's led to a lot of opportunities for Lisa to bring her into working with and doing things that she does. So I think that our kids are always teaching us if we listen. So they should be heard, not just seen. This is really important. Sorry. What's something your child noticed this week that you didn't? Just ask your kids that. What is something you noticed this week? And I promise you they discovered something you hadn't. That's your doorway to joy, and follow it.
Thank you, Debbie. And you brought up a really good point there is noticing. And they notice things that they don't even always comment about, but they notice. Like just when you think like they're happily playing and doing their own thing and you're having a conversation separately off to the side, maybe with your husband. I don't know. I might be talking about myself right now. And you don't think that they heard you, but they did, because 3 days later they're like, oh, when you and Daddy were talking about this, I remember. So they hear everything and they're absorbing everything. So yes, they're not out of sight and they're not out of mind. So that's a very important distinction nowadays to keep aware of. And the other thing too, I think about joy is it does seem elusive. But that's the perfect time for kids and parents to team up as detectives on a mission to uncover it. Because if you think of it like a treasure hunt, I know we were talking about treasure hunts earlier, joy is out there. It's hiding in the little things. And it's our job to find it, kind of what both Amy and Debbie were saying. Maybe it's in the simple pleasure of a shared meal, the laughter from a silly game, or even in the quiet comfort of just being together. It's there. And curiosity is that key to solving this enigma. Because kids can lead the way by asking questions like, what can we do today that would make us smile? Or how can we turn this situation around? My daughter just asked us that the other day. And their fresh perspectives can inspire parents to see opportunities for joy that they might have overlooked when we take the time to listen. And that's what both Debbie and Amy are saying. We have to take the time to listen. When the family works together, we can use curiosity as a guide. We can unlock that joy. Even in the toughest times, it's there. It's all about staying open to possibilities, being willing to try new things, and finding happiness in the journey, not just the destination. So let's embrace the mystery and turn it into an adventure where the prize is joy and the fun is in the hunt. And I think that's important, keeping that hunt in mind. Any other comments about this enigma that Debbie or Amy you want to throw into the mix here before we move on to our final segment?
I
I'll throw
love
some,
when, oh, go ahead, Deb.
I'm going to throw something else out here. In difficult moments, don't ask your kids to quiet down. Ask them what they're noticing that we might be missing, because their wonder might be the key to all of our healing.
And I love your question, what did you discover today? I think that is so powerful because it can open up a whole new insight into one's perspective and mind. And it's just a wonderful um, conversation opportunity, a conversation hack. Beautiful. I love that.
Yes. Thank you, Amy. It's true. It's true. Like I know the school guidance counselor sends home like these monthly newsletters, and probably when you were teaching Amy, they might have done something similar, or they tried to teach it. But I find it interesting because they come up with these questions that you can ask your children versus the typical "How was your day today?" Because you know what that answer always is. So you have to ask questions differently to get different answers. Because if you say, "How was your day today?" the kid's most likely going to be like, "It was okay. It was good." Like you're not going to get much out of them. But if you're asking specific questions or different ways, like what was your favorite thing about today? Or who did you play with that was new? Like what new things did you do? Like different questions like that, it opens up more dialogue with your child and you really get to know who they're becoming. So that is the magical part for me in being a parent right now, discovering that. It's curiosity, right? So,
Curiosity.
yes. All right. Echoing the transformation. This is our fifth and final segment. And the question here is, how can kids inspire transformational change within their families? And how does the role reversal help echo growth and development for everyone involved? And I'm going to start with you again, Amy.
Okay. I found a really beautiful example of this real true role reversal and inspiration between parents and their kids in the dynamic between non-English speaking adults and their children who are assimilating through the schools in our country. It is so incredible the way that these young people raise the bar for their parents and teach them so many amazing skills. First of all, obviously, is bridging the language barrier because they are becoming fluent in English in their schools with their peers, and they're becoming translators for their parents so that their parents can navigate everyday aspects of daily life. This includes giving them access to information, being their liaison to information about school, about employment, healthcare, and other important areas. There's cultural integration too, where the parents are raising the bar and learning about the different cultural norms in the community, what the expectations are, and how to integrate. And there's so much other indirect learning that takes place beyond just language itself. And then there's social support for them too. Children can connect their parents with social support networks and resources as their parents are struggling to also adapt and to thrive. It's interesting that so many people who come here as parents were professionals, really educated, high ranking professionals in their countries. But because of the language barrier, they lowered the bar, so to speak, in the types of work that they are performing. But yes, it's very dignified work as service providers and as healthcare practitioners, home healthcare, and so much more. And it's beautiful to see that children who come here, they, for whatever reason, I mean, I just found out recently that my father did not speak English when he started elementary school, when he started kindergarten. I didn't know that. Um, a, a language called Yiddish was spoken at home, and I never imagined that my father had to learn English when he went to elementary school, to kindergarten. So these kids like him, they're growth oriented and they're goal oriented, and they have this positive, resilient mindset, which raises the bar for their parents. And when we see the dynamics of this in our environment, I think it raises the bar for all of us in appreciating gratitude and appreciating the beautiful dynamics between parents and their children.
Yes, and that was beautiful what you said too, because it just shows the point that we're making in staying curious. Because if you weren't staying curious, you wouldn't have found out about your dad and how he had to learn English when he went to kindergarten, which is like all these years later. It's like you keep learning new things about your family if you're just willing to keep your eyes open, keep asking those questions, and to stay curious. So thank you, Amy, for that. Definitely transformational, right?
Absolutely. And inspiring to the generations that follow.
Yes. And how about you, Debbie? What are your thoughts?
Well, I think this is an interesting conversation that we're having as far as role reversal doesn't mean replacing the parent's job or their role. It's actually letting the child lead with their strengths. And I think all of us very much know now that we have what's bring your kid to work day.
Yes.
And that wasn't something that existed when I was working in the industry, but it exists today. And I think about it quite often. If I were to take my kid to the office today, what would I see and how would I handle it? Well, I think we should go in there letting our children naturally challenge the old system. Why do we do the things this way? And that's the beginning of change. And that's what we're looking for, transformation. We're looking for change. So we could take something that simple as just taking our kids to work today and allowing them to ask those questions. Why do we do it this way? And let's see what they come up with to bring that change. And I think taking your kids to work today would be more fun if we do that. And, I think back to my journey of improving my health and letting go of traditional processes of trusting my doctors completely and putting my health in their hands. And I went back to my childhood. That was a turning point. And I made sure that I started re-looking at what was the things that brought me curiosity as a kid. And that's when I started tying back to all of my nursery rhymes. So allow yourself as a parent to be curious about your kid and be curious about what they're thinking and what they're seeing. Let them be your guides. That's what they're great at. Don't shut them down. Allow them to be that. And we have some really good examples of some people that as kids have made changes, like Greta Thunberg, who is on climate change. At 15, she started speaking about global climate change. And then we have Eli Lee. He's a young advocate for children with child abuse awareness. And he started that at a very young age, at 10 years old. So, I think it's really important that we see our kids themselves as leaders and that they can create change. But we have to encourage that and invite them in to do it. These are our young leaders, just not models of resilience. They create a mirror for us adults. Their honesty, hope, and hustle are what we're curious about. And will you be there for your child when they stand up to show you that curiosity?
And the answer to that is yes, Debbie. Yes. We want to be there for that. So thank you. There were such great examples that you gave too, of like leading the charge and these kids that are doing these things that are just amazing. And I really think that kids are like little catalysts for transformation because they see the world with fresh eyes and they're not afraid to shake things up like the examples that you provided. They have an uncanny ability to spot areas where the family could improve, whether it's suggesting more family time, encouraging healthier habits, or even challenging everyone to be kinder and more supportive. Because when they step into these roles, it's not just about them making changes, it's about inspiring the whole family to evolve together. And really that role reversal is powerful because it breaks down the traditional dynamic where parents are always the ones leading. Instead, it shows that everyone, no matter their age, can contribute to the family's growth. And when kids see that their ideas and actions can lead to real positive changes, it boosts their confidence and sense of responsibility. And when parents embrace this, It strengthens the family bond and creates a culture of mutual respect and learning. And Debbie, earlier you mentioned that with my daughter, that's one of the things I'm doing. And she steps up and she likes to be, she's even part of like one of the shows that I do. And she likes to be on, she has a spot, and now she's asking more questions like, oh, well, what are you using my likeness for? So it's like interesting to see how over time they learn from you and they embody the things that you're doing and they want to be part of it. And they give you suggestions. Like she's even given me a suggestion on how I can change, like, Mommy, this is what you can do to change the spot. This would be fun. Let's try this. Like, so she's coming up with these ideas. And I really think this topic that we're talking about in echoing that transformation means that the changes kids inspire don't just stop with the immediate family, because they ripple out. They affect how the family interacts with the world. By encouraging and supporting these young leaders that Debbie mentioned, that Amy mentioned, we're all participating in a continuous cycle of growth where each step forward leads to new opportunities for everyone to thrive. So I say, let's celebrate those moments when kids take charge and inspire us all to be better. Transformation just isn't about big leaps. It's about the small everyday actions that add up to something truly extraordinary. So Amy and Debbie, I want to thank you both for being on today's episode with us and sharing all your wisdom. Here's a round of applause for you. And as we wrap up this episode of Raising the Bar, Empowering Through Role Reversal, we've explored the incredible ways kids are leading the charge in their families, turning challenges into opportunities and inspiring growth and transformation. From echoing hope and laughter to uncovering hidden joy and sparking change, our young trailblazers are proving the leadership knows no age. So, I just want to check in real quick with both of you if you have any closing comments about our topic today. Let's start with Amy.
Well, I'm very exhilarated and motivated by the things that I've heard. Certain sound bites are going to stay with me, and I think we just need to move forward with empathy and the love of possibility that each day presents. And I'm very grateful that we could share all these ideas continuously in this forum.
Yes, thank you, Amy. And how about you, Debbie?
Well, kids aren't just the future. They're the reminder of what we've forgotten or haven't discovered yet. They challenge us to be better listeners, bolder advocates, and braver healers. And watching them, we realize maybe it's not just about raising them right. Maybe it's about letting them raise us too.
Yes, let them raise us. And remember that the power to inspire and uplift isn't reserved for adults. Sometimes the most profound wisdom and strength comes from the youngest voices. So let's continue to embrace these role reversals, encourage our kids to take the lead, and together we can create a family dynamic that echoes positivity, resilience, and endless possibilities. Until next time, keep raising the bar, keep empowering each other, and keep finding joy in the journey. Thank you for joining us today on Echo This. We hope you enjoyed it and walked away with something to echo. Tune in next time. For until then, take care and keep echoing.